Hey folks, Scott from IT Rockstars. If this is the first time that you've watched this or listened to this show, we help MSPs grow their business. We do that by interviewing other IT business owners and how they're doing their marketing, but we also interview vendors and how others in the space are helping MSPs. Before we get stuck into the interview today, just want to mention the book that I wrote. It's called MSP Video Marketing for MSPs. Obviously, with lockdown and things like that, no face-to-face meetings, video is now more important than ever. So pick up your copy on Amazon. It's definitely worth a read. It's about my experiences with video over the last 2 years. Okay, so on today's show, we have got Victor Racing. Victor, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your second name right there. He's from MSP Navigator, based out in the Netherlands, and he's going to tell us all about the platform that he has. Now, Victor, how long has MSP Navigator been on the go?
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me on your show, by the way. So the idea came about a year ago, and we started sketching out ideas for it about a year ago, and we started building it and releasing it around March this year, and we have been doing updates since then, like in terms of adding vendors and products. And MSPs have been slowly discovering us and using us to discover products and services. So
what does MSP Navigator, what problem do you solve in the marketplace for MSPs? I mean, our audience here is mainly managed service providers, cybersecurity businesses, that type.
Yeah, the problem we're solving is that the landscape of products and services is very fragmented. So there's hundreds and hundreds of vendors selling hundreds and hundreds of products to MSPs.
Yeah.
And if you want to find out what's good for you, then you have to look up all over the place. There's a lot of different channels. There's a lot of different sites. And the idea for MSP Navigator is to bring that all down to one category landscape.
Okay.
To save your time.
Now, is this, obviously with the name MSP Navigator, does this mean that it's specific for managed service providers?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Okay. So I've had a look like on the categories page, and it's quite cool the way that you've broken down a lot of these vendors, services, products, and solutions. And I guess because you mentioned that it's like there's just so many out that are available. It's like, how do you keep it refined? Like what's your structure for only allowing certain vendors or applications onto your system?
Yeah, it's a good question. So and it's pretty simple answer. So what we did is we started out with the PSA systems on the market.
Okay.
So and we worked from there.
How many PSA systems are there?
I have 22.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure I'm missing 2 new players there. So I have 22, and what we did is we looked at the top 5, the big ones, and we went through their marketplaces. And we looked at all the integrations with those top 5 PSA systems, and we worked from there.
So the PSAs, they have almost like an app place for their products, for other vendors are building things and offering things. Okay.
Yes, and these tools fall into the different categories and segments that you see on the landscape, and we basically mapped them. So we mapped the PSA tools with the surrounding applications in our catalog. So that means for example, if you use Kaseya or ConnectWise or Datto, you can go onto that page and you can click the integration browser, and it shows you what apps integrate with that PSA system in all the different categories. So it's basically a huge time saver if you're looking for insights.
You're looking for insights. So I always hear it's like it's always comes out like a member of a few groups and forums online that are specific to MSPs. Like I used to fish for business in these places, but one of the questions that always seems to come up is like, I'm looking to provide a vendor. I'm currently with this PSA or this help desk system. What would you recommend? Now, I always wondered to myself, the people posting these, are these just other vendors asking that question so they can promote their own product? But you always get a flurry of activity, and that question always seems to come up. So is that one of the problems that you kind of help solve with MSP Navigator?
Exactly. I mean, that's what I noticed too in my experience working for MSPs and also working for Datto, which was my last job.
Okay, what did you do at Datto?
I was responsible for the Benelux at Datto.
All right.
I was the country manager for Datto.
Okay.
So basically sales and marketing. And, we had around 500 MSPs in the Benelux. And like in the top three, one of the top three questions is always like, what are you using for X? Being like categories. Yeah. So that was one of the inspirations. Is like, why isn't there a central overview where you can just dive in and explore? And you can for sure, you can go into any community, and there's a lot of communities out there and peer groups, and ask around, and that's cool too. This is just a place where you can go into and find it on your own time, and you can save products on your own dashboard to keep track of and visualize your landscape, and then discovering, okay, where are my gaps?
Okay.
I mean, for example, like security is really hot right now, and then we have multiple categories under that main category, and then if you tell the system the products you're using today, it tells you where your gaps are. So it highlights the categories where that you're not using yet. So you could become aware, for example, of DNS protection. Okay, how would it help me, or data erasure, or dark web monitoring? So it helps you become aware of what's out there to see if it's something for you.
So this leads me into my next question then. So how many vendors do you have on the platform?
So yeah, there's actually a counter on the main page that's live. Yeah, it's 553 at the moment.
Wow, that is a lot of vendors, and that's between them. There's 866 products as we record this. Near the end of October, 2020.
Yeah, there was a lot of work putting them all in the database and mapping them to a specific category.
So I think when IT Rockstars, I think you must have added us yourself potentially. And then I came across MSP Navigator, and I think I typed something in to try and find our own listing, and I couldn't find it. So I added it in. Is that like, you've done this legwork of looking at the PSAs and their marketplaces, but are you finding now that there's other vendors coming to you for a listing?
Yes.
Or are you still kind of adding them in yourself?
Well, the process is to every 3-4 months look at the marketplace of the big vendors to see, okay, who's still alive, who's been removed, and who has been added.
So there's ones that you removed too. Is that because they went out of business?
Well, we haven't found them yet, but I imagine that's something that can happen, right? Or they get bought, or they get consolidated into another product.
Yeah. Okay.
Acquisitions.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Okay. So
and we can do. So what we did is, by going through all the 553 vendors, we collected the website, product pages, and all the social pages. So we can also ping if that page is still up and running. And if it's not, we can investigate, okay, are they still in business, or
have they disappeared? Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess from that, you must be drawing some insights then, because I don't know how many MSPs you have on the platform, but if
we're a little bit over 100 MSPs now that have created a tech stack.
Okay. And that's basically what they're using. So
what they're using, yeah. And on average, they're using 19.4 products on average.
Wow. 19.4. But I guess that gives you some quite interesting insights into where the gaps are and potentially where the trends are going to be taking place.
Yeah, exactly. And we have the most popular products on our, we can make a list of like the number 1 and the top 10 and top 25.
Okay, so I mean, what are you seeing just now then in regards to these gaps and the analysis of your data? Is there?
Well, we've just been updating the system, so it writes down in the back end. It creates nice tables of products being used. So we're still thinking about what the best way is to share that on a platform, like to give that insight back to members, so they can see, okay, what's the top 20, or what are MSPs like me using in their tech stacks?
Okay.
And what's the difference between my stack and my peer stack.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. So it gives you nudges.
I think it's almost like, yeah, what other people using? But then what are the opportunities? What maybe are other people not using that
Exactly.
are maybe are trending? Yeah.
Yes, and you don't want to you don't want to create a bloat in your tech stack, but you don't want to miss out on opportunities. For example, a dark web monitoring. If you're not offering and selling that to your customers, that could be an opportunity for extra revenue, or adding that into your portfolio of services.
Definitely.
And it's a nice awareness. It creates awareness.
Okay.
And we're thinking about making it more intelligent based on your peers that are also using the platform, and it can give the community some insights there. Yeah, we haven't released that yet, but we're thinking about it as we're building up, as we're growing the amount of stacks that are being tracked.
Before we kind of start recording here, Victor, I was asking the question, or we were getting into a little bit of a conversation there on what your vision is for MSP Navigator. Where do you see it within 5 years, or what's the grand master plan?
Yeah, I think it's I want to try and keep it a free resource for MSPs and having it monetized by the vendors. Yeah, and I think what do you want as a tech buyer? People like to use B2B buying is looking more and more like B2C buying nowadays, because people want to go to a marketplace for convenience. Yep. They want to line up products next to each other, and they want to read what a peers like me think of product A, B, and C. Okay. That's basically what people want, because they want to be sure that they're making the right decision. And I think what's cool of MSP Navigator, the idea here is that it's kind of Switzerland. Like if you go to any distributor or, in any country, they also always have a subset of vendors, 20, 40, maybe 100, but nobody has 500 vendors in a catalog. No. So I think it's cool, as long as you curate all these vendors and products in the right categories, that you use the community to, choose the products and rate the products. And by doing that, helping their peers and helping each other towards better insights. So can I go and rate a product that I'm using on there just now? Not yet, but that's coming. Because I know you mentioned the word community there, and I'm up top of the front page, there's a link to communities, but. Yeah, we're building that. We're putting the communities under companies or under vendors and giving each community their own page. Okay. We're constantly updating the system and to, based on insights. So we're going to make room in the top navigation bar for a quick search bar throughout the whole site. So we need to shrink it down. So eventually, not only will this just be a directory of all of the vendors, but there'll actually be a community conversation, reviews about products, solutions that are on offer by these vendors. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. I think the basic feedback you want to have, or the basic extra additional insight you want to have, is some kind of rating, right? You want to know, what do peers, MSPs like me, think of SolarWinds, or think of, And there are websites out there that do that already. So there's there's one called, I think it's just G2. I can type in Capterra. Yeah, I can type in I don't know, ConnectWise alternative, and I can find quite quickly some of these bigger, directories that are offering. For sure. These, but you're staying specific in that sort of MSP niche. I think the MSP landscape deserves their own platform. And if you look at G2 or Capterra, which are amazing websites, but they do all categories for all verticals. Yeah. Okay. So you could quickly get lost, and by specializing on this specific domain, I think you can give a better experience. Okay. So this probably brings back to the question I asked previously about how keeping the vendor stack, refined into this niche.
you've got, I've noticed you've got like services on here like Zoom, which is almost like a generalist product. It's not an MSP specific. So why is Zoom on your in your catalog?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things you can do on the back end is you can visualize your tech stack. And
Okay.
while you're not selling it, in most cases, you're using it.
Yeah, everyone's using that. It's like electricity.
Exactly. So there's a business app category
Okay.
that has the, the most popular business apps out there that you can use to also quickly, check out their Twitter or their social or make some notes around it. And just complete your stack in that way. So
a call to action then, Victor. If I was an MSP watching IT Rockstars here today, why would I what's the, how do I sign up for your service? I mean, what's the,
it's really simple. Yeah, you go to msp-navigator.com and then on top of the page, top right, there's a sign up button.
Okay, cool.
And follow the steps. And if you're done, you have access to your own tech stack and you can save any product you want, create some notes, and you can click a button and then you can discover the whole landscape of products and categories that you're not using yet. And
yeah,
go from
are
there.
you finding that that's the biggest draw for people coming to your site, that they're finding where the gaps are, or is it the fact that they can just see a complete overview of a particular type of solution that they're looking for?
I think it's the latter.
Yeah.
To start with.
Okay.
And the other tool, like if you tell us what you're using, we'll show you what you're unaware of. That's a new feature. So, but the front end is for sure just diving into the categories and seeing what's available within that category.
Okay.
And just discovering. Yeah, discovery. That's the main utility there. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one question I did forget to ask you, Victor. I always ask this before we press record. It's like, okay, it's almost like a planted question that I do with all my guests. I'm like, how can I make this interview a win for you? What can I ask you that will help you here so that, this time's been of use to you?
Look, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's all about awareness, right? So MSP Navigator is relatively, unknown. So these interviews and podcasts help to get the word out.
Yeah.
And it helps to get more MSPs signed up. And it helps improve the data set. And in turn, the insights I can give back to the MSPs that join.
Okay, excellent. Well, if you haven't already, it's msp-navigator.com. Go check it out, sign up for that account, and let's see what gaps you have in your tech stack. You might be using this at 19.4 pieces of software at the moment, but there's maybe another 1.6 that you're missing there. So check out. Hey, Victor, thanks for being on the show today. And just another quick word, video marketing for MSPs. If you haven't got this book yet, you need this book in 2020 and beyond. It's going to help you sell your IT services when you can't meet face-to-face. Get it on places like Amazon. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll catch you guys and girls later.
Thanks for having me.